So today we're going to be drawing Bertie's eye. I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know if you're going to give this a go, and let me know how you got on with it. So let's crack on. So we're going to start by, I'm just going to lighten up the outline around the eye, and I'm just using a soft putty eraser, and I'm doing it just to get the graphite off the paper, and so it doesn't leave a dirty smudge. We don't want the graphite getting mixed in with the colour pencils. Okay, and the first colour that we're going to use is Sepia. It's a dark sepia, it's a Polychromos, and I'm just going to go and define the areas that we need to remain dark. So I find that it helps to get a few dark areas in, so you can determine where you want your lights and your darks. And I'm just using a really soft pressure, not pressing too hard, just to try and get in a few of those areas at the darkest. And it's always really important when you're working on the eyeball as well to make sure that you treat it like a spherical shape, because it's not flat, it is round. So you make sure any lines that are coming out are going round the surface of the eyeball. And because we're not pressing too hard, you can always just alter your lines a little bit until you're completely happy with them. The secret is not to press too hard when you start out. Okay, so we've got a little bit to work with there. I'm going to come back in obviously and do some more on this part, but I think we'll go in with some of the red colours now. And this dog is actually called Bertie. He's a lovely dog, and it's a lovely commission I'm doing for a lovely person. How many times can I say lovely? So this dog is actually, so this dog has beautiful eyes, and he's a lovely dog, and he's called Bertie, and he's a very, very special commission, which I'm working on. So we're just going to pop in some of the underlying colours under the red tones, and I'm going to use this, although it's not a red colour as such, it's sort of in that area, and it's a raw umber 10% luminance pencil. So I'm just going to pop in a base colour. And it helps fill in some of the areas on the paper. And again, we're just pressing really lightly, not too hard, and it's just to get something down on the paper so we've got something to work with. Okay, I'm even going to take it a little bit up into that black area there. Okay. So the next colour is, I'm going to go in with, this is a grey-red colour, it's a terracotta, and it's a Polychromos pencil, and I'm just going to pop in a wash, a light wash of the terracotta colour, and it's going to come all the way up into this area. Again, just really lightly, just putting down a glaze or a wash of colour on top of that eyeball. So we've got this lovely highlight here, and I always find that highlights look really good when you don't just leave them white, but if you put in some blue. So I'm going to start with this Luminance pencil, and we've got a light cobalt blue, light cobalt, I'm in trouble saying that word today, light cobalt blue. And it comes all the way up here. Again, nothing too hard. I'm actually skipping out a few areas where I do want a little bit of white showing. I think we're just going to take it over into this part of the eye as well. And then just to liven it up a little bit more, I'm just going to pop in this darker blue. I'm going to try and list the colours actually on the screen because that might be a bit easier. And just pop a little bit around there. And then this bit at the top is actually quite dark. So we're going to go back to, I'm going to start with the sepia and the dark sepia Polychromos, and just for a bit of a shadow, just going to bring that round there. And that'll make the highlight area just pop a little bit more. So because we're drawing it at a fairly small scale, this is the size of an A4 piece of paper, we are working with quite small details, but you'd be surprised how much you can actually get down onto this size. I used to work quite large predominantly, and it's really good, I find, to work in all different sizes. It really does help your art. Okay, so we're just going to make the colours a little bit darker now on the iris. I'm just going to show you a quick trick as well, just before we get too far along on the eyeball, just in case that you find you're not quite happy with any areas. A little trick, you can remove areas. For example, I'm using this is called Mono Zero razor, and you can lift parts out if you decide that you want that highlight. That's one way. There's some other methods as well. So if you're not quite happy or you just want a bit more, you find that you've gone a bit too dark, there are ways of lifting out pigment. Okay, so because we do want some light in there, we don't want it to be too dark. And eyes are full of so many interesting colours and shapes and tones, and we want them to look wet and alive. This pencil that I'm using is a burnt sienna Polychromos. Again, just light taps. They're nothing too that's too heavy on the paper, I should say. Okay, so I'm just going to put in a bit of burnt umber as well. I think Bertie's eye is quite dark, so I'm just going to fade it into the black line, the water line here, with some burnt umber. And this is a Polychromos pencil as well, Faber-Castell Polychromos. And that'll help it just blend into the black line. Just having another look. It's quite dark in this area as well, so we're just going to darken that up. And I'm always checking just to make sure that it is looking round. So just make sure it looks like a sphere and not a flat plane. Okay, so I'm starting to be happy with that. And I'm just going to lift a bit more just from that bit there. You find once you've got the area in around the eye, it brings it to life. So I think what we're going to do now is, once we've just darkened this part here is we'll start working around the eye. Yeah, okay. And just one more. I'm just going to use the black just to really intensify the pupil area that I'm happy with. Okay, just really bring that eye to life. Now I'm just going to add another glaze of the terracotta just to give it that lovely red tone. Yeah. And just a bit more of the blue over here. Yeah, from here that's not looking too bad for a start. So I'm just going to go in along the waterline since we've got the light cobalt blue pencil in my hand, and I'm just going to pop a line of colour along here, and this is the waterline, and again I'm just going to lift. I'm not quite happy with that looking like that, so I'm just going to lift that bit out there. If you haven't got the zero eraser, you can try other erasers as well. I really like the zero eraser because it's so small, and you can actually chop the edge of it to get a nice sharp edge if you need to, which can be useful. So this is like a base layer, and then we can work into it to just define it a bit more. Okay, so I'm using the black and just defining the edge of this waterline on Bertie's eye. Okay. So all this area around here, around the tear duct, just below the waterline, it's really there's a blue colour to it. So what we're going to do is use this Luminance pencil again, and I'm just going to pop in a base layer again, really, really lightly. And we'll just make sure there's no graphite. The good thing about the putty eraser is obviously you can mould it to where you want it to go. Okay, so I'm just, they like small circular motion or actions, and I'm just going to pop in a base layer just around the eye. We have sort of a blue tint to it. and using, I think we'll use, let's have a look. I've got Bertie up on a tablet just in front of me, and I think what we're going to do is use the dark sepia again. I always find if you're not quite sure what colour to use, you can usually get away with using the dark sepia, and just plotting out on the paper where I want these shapes to be. So we've got quite a dark area here where you can hardly see any blue, and that's really dark, so I'm just popping that in again, not pressing too hard. I never really press hard until I'm really at the end of the picture, and I'm really sure I'm happy with how it's looking, all the perspective and everything's in the right place. And then you can go in with your hard layers, but for now I'm just popping in light layers. Okay, so it's all dark here, and then we've got a couple of small areas where a little bit of light shows through, and then this area here goes onto the edge, and that's dark, and then we've got another area here. Okay, that's also dark. Yeah. Every time I'm pausing, I'm just checking that I'm happy with everything, because we can go back in, of course, and just remove areas of pigment we're not quite happy with. Yeah, it's all looking okay. So there's lots of lovely wiggly shapes around here. So I'm just gonna pop in some lines that are just going vertically around the eye. Again, just thinking about the contour and the bone structure underneath where the eye is. Just pressing lightly, and then it goes dark again, so using really small little motion or actions with the pencil, tip of the pencil, I'm just going round and round and round. Okay, up and down, nothing's a straight line. And it's just feeding into the fur that's going around the eyeball and the eye socket. Okay. Right, so we're starting to get just a little bit of life into Bertie's eye. And I'm happy with the colours. It's got these lovely warm chestnutty red eye, and in fact I can see a tiny bit of green in there. So I'm just going to use this is a green Museum Mackerel pencil, and just around there I'm just going to put in a few strokes of the green. Because it's the opposite side of the colour wheel, it just helps make those reds pop a little bit as well. And you don't need a lot, just a little touch might just add something. Just darken that round there. So I think the best thing to do now is to get a little bit of colour and fur direction going around here. So I'm going to add in a base layer. Just going to pop a bit of colour with the dark sepia just across the top here. Yeah, that'll do for now. We can come back. Okay, so for the base layer, I'm going to add a combination in of some Museum Aquarelle, this is sepia 10%, and also the light flesh. So not a lot, it's just to give something to work into. So again, just before I start, these are actually watercolour pencils, so I'm going to be wetting them for the base layer. Just another technique. Okay, so that's enough. And I'm just going to go in with the sepia first off and just pop in I think just a bit round here. And then with the light flesh 10%, I think they've renamed this one Buttermilk. And this is going over the brow bone. It's a slightly more I suppose buttermilk colour really, the underlying. So what I'm looking for in the underlying colours is if you look through all the fur, you see the lightest colour really, and so we're just popping that down for the base layer just so that we can work into something. So that's coming over the brow bone. I'm just going to take it right up to here for now. Again, there's nothing too hard, it's just a really light action, it's just trying to get a bit of the pigment down there. And we'll just take it round this part as well. I'm just going to go back to the sepia and just fill this part in. Okay, and this part is still quite, I think we're gonna, I'm just gonna carry that through there as well, just for now. Okay, so I think we need a little bit over here. Yes, that's all looking okay. So, I'm actually using one of these portable water brushes because they're really easy to have around, and I'm just gonna, I don't want it really wet, it's just to get the pigment from the watercolour pencil to move. And I'm just going in and getting that into the paper. So it gets into the grain of the paper. We're trying to fill up all those little holes. Okay, that'll do. Okay, let's clean that off with my hands. Probably not the best way to do it. So the paper I'm working on, I should say as well, is Fabriano Artistico. So the paper that I'm working on is Fabriano Artistico, and it's the heaviest one, which I think is 640 grams. It's almost like a cardboard. It could stand up on its own, and it can take quite a lot of, well, it can take many layers, and it's no fear of going through the paper if you want to add loads and loads of layers to it, which I've found I actually did that once. I went through, I was adding so many layers to one of the first pieces I ever did, I actually created a hole in it. so the heavier the paper, the better. Okay, so we've got a base layer down now, and that feels like it's good to go. I'm just going to darken some of the areas, I think, around the eye. I think we'll work into this little bit first. So again, I think what we're going to use, instead of the sepia, I think I might use, okay, this is a slate grey, because I can see quite a lot of grey around certain areas. So I'm just going to use that. And this is around the tear duct part, really. And it's coming down. so I've got something to work on there. Just adding a touch of that colour around this side as well, and I think we'll pop a bit on there. And then I'm going to start making a few, we've got a few bits of fur just coming over the eye, so I'm just going in around this area. This is with a slate grey, and because it has a slight blue tinge around the eye, and so that's quite a nice colour to work with around there. Okay, we seem to have a bit more life coming into that area. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of chestnut colours around the here and over the top. So we'll start working into those areas, and I'm going to go with this burnt umber, and we're also going to use, I think we're going to use some burnt sienna. Perhaps some brown ochre as well. Okay. So we'll start off with, I'm just going to pop in just a few dark lines. Yeah, that looks quite nice. So we're using the burnt umber Polychromos, and just starting to work a little bit of fur detail around the eye area, and you've got these lovely browns just next to the waterline and the eyeball socket. And above it seems to be redder, so we're gonna use a different colour up there. Just for now, I'm just gonna, while that blue is starting to stand out a bit more, so I'm just gonna use this again, just do another layer of the blue. Put some blue in there and pop a little bit up here. Yeah, as well. Okay. And just going to get that zero eraser as well, because I just want that to be a little bit whiter. Just there. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so let's pop in some, let's get a few darks in. Right, so we're going to go back again to the dark sepia. So I'm just building up some more detail around the eye with the Museum Aquarelle slate grey pencil. And just adding detail and wiggly lines just to create some interest around the eye. And this is the sepia, the dark sepia Polychromos, and just adding a few more layers on top of the last colour, the slate grey. Just slowly building up some depth. And the secret is here just to keep building it up until you're happy that you've got a realistic result. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and that you give this dog's eye a go. I'm going to try and link all the pencils that I've used below and also put a photo of Bertie for you to work from. If you do have a go at doing this, I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know in the comments below. I'd love to see how you got on, and let me know how you found it. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more tutorials, please like and subscribe. It would really help me out, and it makes it possible for me to make many more tutorials for you. If you comment below about what you'd like to see, then I'll do my very best to make content that interests you. Thank you so much for watching,